Hey guys, it's Mitch with the Department of Bad Ideas, and I was recording some stuff for a guide I'm working on for the Dark Sectors, and I had a really good match while I was doing this, and I really want to upload the raw footage. So figured, you know what, I'll do a little bit of commentary on this one, and explain a little more what my thoughts are on the Dark Sectors so far. Because I did do a video on my initial thoughts, but that was more biased towards the modding process, which I absolutely love how modding works with the Dark Sectors now. But yeah, this is going to be a little bit more of a little more in-depth talk about the Dark Sectors. So yeah, I jumped into this one game here, and I thankfully got put in very early. It was only level 4. The recent patches that they put out there made it so I'm actually at everyone's level. This is good. And also, it meant that I got the cheat a little bit and I didn't have to get Thunderbolt unlocked in my bow. Always nice. But I jumped into this one, was having a lot of fun. There were a few things I noticed, though, when I first got in that were just cheesy, I guess. They're just very overpowered skills. All like this one right here. I don't know what to think about invisibility. I noticed in this game there's the Loki on their team use it very extensively. And don't get me wrong, I want there to be invisibility. That's if you take out invisibility from Loki, you break Loki. He doesn't function anymore. All he has then is his switch teleport, maybe hiding behind a decoy. But I don't know. I've been looking at that skill and I've been thinking maybe they could do something where instead of it being a press 2 to be invisible for 30 seconds, it could be something where, like, while you're in it, your shields are draining and it's a toggle skill. That I would be fine with, something like that. Oh yeah, a little bit of mobility goodness there for you. I will be covering this mobility stuff in my guide when I get around to it. Probably sometime this week, maybe over the weekend. I'm very busy at work again this week, but I will get it out. But back onto the topic, with the skills like that, it's like invincibility. I really don't know what the real solution is. My idea is to just do a, switch it to a toggle ability, have a drain, and hit your stamina. And this is one weird glitch. I don't know why that happened. Kind of robbed me of my mirrors. I actually thought we lost the match when that glitch happened. But yeah, there's also I've been having issues with it. I'll tell you when I see it. Should be popping up pretty soon. People using Hysteria in the Dark Sectors, which that needs to change. It's one of those things where every time I bump into a Valkyrie in there, they're typically using it, and you can hit it, and it's basically, knowing from my own personal build, using only 2 mods, you've already got over a minute of invulnerability running it. And now that I got the new attack set, in the Dark Sectors, it's kind of filthy, but not in a good way. So they'll have to do something like, make it only, I don't know, do damage reduction instead of flat amount of, instead of being invincible, or, also, don't stand in front of someone who's down, that will happen. They'll have to make it so it's not invincibility, it's damage reduction, or do what they do with the bleed out process, where as you take more hits, it reduces the timer on it. That could work. There it is right there. That's the one that she hit, that player hit Hysteria, and they just sat in our spawn area, annihilating everybody at the start, and there's nothing we could do about it for a full minute. They actually eat a lot of our tickets, I believe, in this match. That's definitely one of the skills we need to look at. I mean, on top of the expected ones, there's no ashes in this video, but Blade Storm is one that needs to be looked at, because we got players that are running around with Blade Storm. Ooh, that is so cool. Oh my god. Got a beautiful jump attack there. I'm gloating, let me gloat. People using Blade Storm is still a bit of an issue. Because that's one of those things where people will build it for, they build efficiency and they build Blade Storm in their first slot. And, by the time they've gotten their 3rd mod, they've got max efficiency and they have Blade Storm, and they're just get 25 energy, hit Blade Storm. And it really hurts the gameplay. Because it's one of those things where, since it causes a guaranteed bleed and the damage output's already quite large, it's gonna be, 1 or 2 shotting players, unfortunately. And they can target right now, which is something they really need to fix, is it can target the cryopod. So that's not good. I don't really know what to do with that other than, or not cryopod, the core. Like, the one thing I can't say for sure that needs to be done with that is they definitely need to take the skill and remove its ability to target anything but players and the AI. Everything else is fine. But it's going to be a skill where they're going to have to pull a mean balancing act to keep it in check. Part of me almost wants to say to make efficiency not as efficient. That could work wonders to mitigate that, and it'll actually mitigate a lot of the ultimate spam that I see in there. It'll actually, as a result, keep Hysteria in check, keep Molecular Prime in check, stuff like that. So the gameplay overall will play a little more smoothly. It won't, you know, necessarily favor one build over another, although I still want there to be efficiency, because you should have a reason to run that. And, yeah, I was raging on that skill a little bit. But something like that would definitely help the game type out a lot. What else here? Is that Loki again? Just a little bit too aggressive of a Loki. But outside of the skills, there's really not too much more than those I've mentioned there. Link is a bit overpowered right now. That's more a thing of just adjusting the percentage damage sent back. I've noticed that... I know this firsthand because I kind of cheesed out and I'm filling our Solar Rail with Trinity Spectres. If you hit Link and you shoot them once, you're going to kill yourself. It's kind of what it turns into. The amount of damage it reflects back is pretty absurd right now. So that could use a little bit of toning back. Especially when you get to the late game, where it's almost always going to be a one-shot kill on yourself. Not really too much more than that, though. Aside from the usual, you know, the ultimates on a case-by-case basis, that's kind of tied to the damage type. Prism, now that I think of it, that is one that needs to be toned down a little bit. The damage reduction they did seem to do a pretty good job of that. It still needs a little bit of fine-tuning. There's that Hysteria again. That person actually, I believe, one of the games I played prior to this, one of the Valkyries in their team was just disabling these posts every single time we capped them. There's nothing we could do about it because she had, they had Hysteria up. So it's one of the things, too, they need to look at for Hysteria is just how it, how easy it makes it to deactivate and capture points when you're invincible. What was I talking about? Talking about mods? I can't remember what I was talking. Oh yeah, it's going on about abilities still. Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where we need to just be very vocal on the forums, let them know which skills are a bit overpowering, because they're going to have to, they've already mentioned a while back when they did Conclaves that any balance changes they make to PvP will not affect PvP. So this is good. That's what you want. But, we're going to have to be really vocal on the forums about which abilities are overpowering, which ones are breaking the game type, such as, you know, Bladestorm, as I previously mentioned, Hysteria, probably Iron Skin to an extent, although I think Iron Skin is more a thing of, the early stage of it needs to be weaker, and the end stage of it, you know, the full strength version of it is fine. Something like that, keep it in check. Outside of that, the modding, I've already mentioned in my video log, I am really loving modding in this game type. There's so much strategy to modding it. I've already, I've been reworking my builds constantly to streamline them to my style of gameplay, and there is one thing I've learned, though. As I'm thinking like League of Legends on this one. One thing that's beautiful about League is that whenever there is a certain playstyle that becomes the meta, the counterplay of that playstyle will become the next meta. And, I noticed very early on, I'm not seeing it much anymore. I'm starting to wonder if what I'm doing is taking off a bit. Everyone was using jack attacks and jump attacking, knocking enemies over and finishing them while they're on the ground. But I'm starting to notice now that not as many players are relying on jump attacks anymore. I don't know if it's because the players are getting more accurate when they're coming in for jumps or dodge rolling them, or if they're doing what I'm doing, and after Hall of Mirrors, the first card that I've got on is sure-footed. There's that Valkyrie again. And, basically enabling me to shrug off, you know, at least, you know, a little over half of the jump attacks that are thrown at me. And if I put Fortitude in, I can get 80% of the time. So I'm starting to wonder if that's becoming, starting to see a player shift towards using stuff like that, because it definitely helps and it changes how you fight your opponents. And that shifting meta is something that would really make this game type exciting, because then there's no longer, you know, just use Bolt or Prime, which really isn't that good of gun in this game type. Just use Bolt or Prime and Accurate and just... it doesn't work like that anymore. If anything, I relegate Bolt or Prime to a bit of a mid-tier weapon. It's good for taking down the Good for taking down the AI, but not good against players. So, I'm very interested to see where the meta goes with this one. So, it looks like we're near the end here. I actually had to make a little critical decision of my own there, whether to save that guy or not, 'cause we're very close to winning. But looks like we're out of time here. I will talk a bit more on this subject in another video log or another video. So this is Mitch, signing off.